Ciao guys, welcome to Speakeasy. Today we have a very special guest, Max Büsser, founder and creative director of MB&F. Welcome to Milano.
Thanks, Jacopo.
Thanks for
Good
joining
to be
us.
here. Good to be in Milan.
So last time we did this was to celebrate the 30th anniversary of you working with the Corvo family, and next year there is another big celebration, which is the 20th anniversary of MB&F. How watchmaking has changed for you in the last 20 years?
Wow, okay. If you had told us in the early 2000s, now let's not forget early 2000s is the Uhrwerk 103, The Freak, Richard Mille starts, FP Journe starts, Copus. A few years later I'm starting MB&F. If you told us that 20 years later most brands would be doing copies of vintage watches, we would have laughed. We would have like, this is impossible, because it was a revolution. It was the moment where we were going to create contemporary watchmaking, the new chapter. And it's interesting that this new generation, 20 years is a generation. And you see that this new generation is going back to classics. And don't get me wrong, I love classic watchmaking. I've been steeped in classical watchmaking. But it's a bit weird for me that this new generation, the new youngsters, are doing all vintage looking watches. But look, great. At the same time, in the last 20 years, there's a lot of incredible things have happened. And I think it's also much easier for the new generation to actually create a brand, create something.
Well, social media helped many of them.
We had no social, we barely had internet, we had the purists.
The purists.
We had the purists,
yeah.
and thank you to the purists.
Some forums
exactly.
were already
Time
existing,
zone,
yeah.
purists.
Yeah.
So today, I think the barriers to entry for the new generation are much lower, and it enables them to spend way more time on the product and less having to run around the world as we had to do and try and find a few people who resonated on the same wavelength. So all for the better. I think a lot of people tend to look back and always say it was better before, but let's actually look at it today. It's better today.
I totally agree. And well, for sure, social media helped a lot. But even technology itself, I mean, R&D, it's much easier today rather than what it used to be before. I mean,
yeah, SolidWorks, CNC machines. Now, don't get me wrong, 20 years ago was not Neanderthal.
No, of course.
We already had CAD and CNC, but it's true that I remember when we went to see the sapphire maker to make the sapphire glass of HM2 sapphire, and the guy looked at us and was like, impossible. And when we went to see him to do the dome of the frog, and he was like, dude, impossible.
Then,
now, look what we're capable of doing. 15, 18 years down the road, we're capable of doing an HM9 sapphire. And when we go and see the supplier and we're like, can you do that? He's like, yeah, it's going to take 200 hours or 300 hours, but we can do it.
Of course.
Well, before it's no. So it's actually, I remember always Stephen McDonald saying at an old Dubai Watch Week, where he was interviewed, and he said, look, it took me 5 years to create the perpetual calendar. Imagine 150 years ago of the likes of Abraham Louis Breguet and others who didn't have anything like that, didn't have CNCs, they didn't have CAD. And he himself was like, they must have spent a life to create those movements. 20 years, 15 years. How would they do that with a piece of paper and a pencil?
That's actually wild. I was there.
Of course you are, yeah.
So, what did you learn in the last 20 years, and what do you see yourself doing in the coming years?
How many hours do we have?
20 minutes.
Okay. Okay, what did I learn? Let's put it this way. What's been defining MB&F and my journey is trying to be proud. And I am incredibly proud that we stayed whatever principles and values I have, when the whole team has embraced, we've kept them, whatever, ups and downs. What's really when I look back, what makes me absolutely mind-boggled, I don't even know if you say that in English, is that when I started, you know that when you start a company, you need a great business plan, adequate funding, and probably an array of products which should be coming out. Now, here I am in 2005. I think it's a great idea to start a company with no business plan because I didn't want any shareholders. So I never wanted to go and see the banks.
No money.
So, not enough money, by far. Half of the money I knew I didn't have. And I only have the drawing of HM1. And there's an HM2, but in the same case, so basically that's never going to come out. And I think it's a great idea to quit Harry Winston and launch my brand. So it's true that when I look back, I'm like, and I'm not on drugs. And so basically, I'm like, what went through your mind when you're doing that? But I think karma is a great thing. Karma is incredible because we've been able to assemble over all these years such incredible people which have actually made that journey come to life. So what I've learned is keep your values, whatever happens, ups and downs. Surround yourself with great people. Have a great common purpose. And also what I've learned is that I've learned so much every time I've fallen down. So if it had been a walk in the park, we probably I wouldn't be sitting in front of you talking today. Maybe not, because I think I would have made a ton of errors afterwards. But there were so many hard moments, difficult moments. That's where we learned so much. So I think that was it. And then what I think I've learned and what's bringing me to the next step is I think success is the most dangerous thing. And so all of us independents have had 3 incredible years. All of the industry has had 3 incredible years. And I find success is very dangerous because you take less risks, you're less creative, and you usually start treating people around you not as nicely as before. And I'm trying to be polite. And so I think our industry has been clearly culprit of that. And what I'm proud of, what the whole team is proud of, is we have used this success, this demand, to take way more risks. I mean, look, there's of course the Mad Edition, but you're going to see other products coming out in the future which I wouldn't have ever had the courage to come out with.
But even the HM11, I mean,
HM11 was
daring.
Yeah, that didn't come from the success. That started in 2018. So and the success starts like end of 2020, early 21. But you're going to see in the years to come a lot of ideas that I had and I put in a basket. And I was like, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. And now we're like, you know what?
Can't wait.
Let's do this. You know what? Let's do this. And the last thing is I think we remained a really kind, caring company with everyone.
That's absolutely true. Everybody speaks super highly of you and the team at the Met Galleries, etc., etc. So it's...
And it was difficult. And it's not difficult being kind. It was difficult when the demand became so crazy that everybody was like, please give me a watch. And we learned how to say no. We had never said no. We were, every time somebody wanted to buy a watch, we would like be dancing in the middle of like, yes! And now suddenly you have people going like, take my money, how can I get one? You know, I'm sorry, I can't, you have to wait, I'm really sorry, etc. So now I'm actually really not happy that the industry is normalizing, because there are still waiting lists, as you know. Unfortunately, there are no pieces in your store. No. But
0 watches available.
So for the next X months, everything is accounted for. But now we can start giving delays which seem to be reasonable, and not let's talk in 5 or 10 years, which was ridiculous. Crazy. So that was
a really crazy moment, I have to say.
And so that success has been a tremplin. How do you say? Has been something which allows you to go further, and also to, I think, be more grateful and to be more generous. I think in the regrets I have is I was so intent on surviving for so many years and that I took a lot of things for granted, and I wasn't able to say thank you formally or informally, because it was always the next issue to deal with. And I think now we can actually sit down with all the people who've accompanied us over these years and say, wow, thank you very much.
What a journey.
Yeah.
Thanks. And well, you mentioned Stephen McDonnell, which is actually one of my favorite people I've ever met in watchmaking. I mean, he's so kind, so humble, such a genius. So everybody knows that the story started way before the Legacy Machine Perpetual, but through the years, I think some of the craziest and most beautiful legacy machines have been created with, together with Stephen McDonnell as well. And here we have the latest launch, which is the Legacy Machine Sequential Classic in Platinum. And well, there is a surprise because it's technically a little bit more advanced than the Sequential Evo.
It's a good thing Stephen is not here, because if you said just a little bit in front of Stephen, I think he would have gone ballistic. So yes, so this is the next iteration of the Sequential. How do you improve on something which is so, and I can say it's extraordinary because I didn't create it, Stephen did, Aiguille d'Or of GPHG, reinvents the chronograph function, no loss of amplitude, etc., etc. And we wouldn't have just put that caliber, which is already extraordinary, in a classic case. So, oh yeah, you have the Evo and you have the classic. So actually what Stephen had always wanted to do from the beginning, he wanted to add an extra function. And finally, it took 2 more years, and that extra function is coming into this classic version. It's a double flyback sequential. So that means a 6th patent. So there were 5 patents already on the original sequential. Also because the whole system of the vertical jeweled clutch in the movement did not allow him to use the normal flyback system that you see on all chronographs who have that function, and therefore he had to invent that. And it was actually, if you interview him, he can tell you, it was, I think he did like 4 months of prototyping of all the different ideas he had, and we were working with him.
That's crazy.
And so it's taken 2 more years to add those double flyback. Now, on top of that, what I asked Stephen, I don't think originally he was really very happy about that, is I wanted the dial. The dials are all flat on the sequential. Here, on the classic, the dial is like this. So yes, there is a few moments where you will not see the hand of the 2 chronograph seconds that well, but I think it gives that really, that 3-dimensionality, which gives that extra plus.
It's incredible.
So we can't do many of those movements. There, I think it's the first time we're going over 600 components in the history of MB&F. The previous was 585. And so we decided to go back to a very rare material which people don't really use anymore, which we all used to use a lot in high-end watchmaking, is platinum. So we're doing 33 pieces in platinum. That's this year. Yes, that caliber will come out in other variations of the classic over the years to come. But for 2024, 33 pieces in platinum with the dial like that and the double flyback on the caliber.
Wow.
So yeah, thank you, Stephen.
Amazing.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Stephen. Thanks again, Max, for being here with us. It's always a pleasure to see you and to have you here in Milano. So that's it for today. See you next time. Ciao.
Ciao.